didn't mention any qualifications of iman. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ وَرُسُلِهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Nothing. He didn't say they believe in Allah, they believe in the last day, none of that. He just said they have iman. Who are these people? What is this iman? There are so many things to talk about from the Qur'an's own point of view within iman. We'll have to pick and choose just a couple of things, inshallah ta'ala. The first thing we'll talk about is the fruits of iman. Just the fruits of iman. How are you supposed to know that the kind of iman you have, what should you taste from it? Basically, the fruit of iman essentially is tranquility at the heart of it. The fruit of iman is tranquility. Remember we said human beings are in loss? What are the losses of the human being? Loss of health, loss of wealth, loss of loved one, right? These are the kinds of losses human beings suffer in this world. Loss of comfort. But if you have iman, then you know that this world is not permanent. This world is temporary. And what Allah has in the akhirah compared to this world is nothing. وَمَا مَتَاعُ الدُّنْيَا فِي الْآخِرَةِ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. This al-hayat al-dunya actually. مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا فِي الْآخِرَةِ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ في Surat At-Tawbah. He says, what is the utilities of this, the things you use in this world, in worldly life, compared to the akhirah? What are they? Except very little. They're not, minuscule. If you really, really, really believe that, you have iman in that. If you have iman in فَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَمَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Whatever you have been given, it is utilities of worldly life. You know, in that ayah, Allah says, whatever you have, no, whatever you've been given. فَمَا أُوتِيتُم. Whatever you have been given. You know, when you're given something, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the one who gave it to you. So when it's taken away, you say, well, it wasn't mine to begin with. Because He gave it to me, He has the right to take it back. When it's your own and you lose it, you say, man, I can't believe I lost my money, my house, my car, my kid, my wife. But when you realize all of this is na'im, this is given to you, this is blessing to you. When it's taken away, even when we ourselves are taken away, what do we say? We say, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi. We belong to Allah. What to speak of the things we own? We belong to Allah and we are to be returned to Him, returned to owner, right? The attitude of the believer changes. I'll give you just one example of just this one small aspect of iman, because if we just started talking about various aspects of iman, it would just take a series in and of itself. Perhaps another time, inshallah ta'ala. But at least the fruits of iman I wanted to mention. The primary fruit being tranquility. You're at peace with your life. Whether you're poor or you're wealthy, or you're sick or you're healthy, or you're old or you're young. Whether people like you or don't, if you have iman, you're at peace. You're at peace with yourself, you're at peace with Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is something most human beings don't enjoy, by the way. Most human beings are not at peace and they're running after it. Why do you think people go watch one movie, then another one comes out and they run after it, they're looking for tranquility, enjoyment, entertainment. Their heart should be finally at rest. Why is it that they get one car, then they run after another car, get one house, run after another house? Why do we do that? Because we're not at rest. But Allah says, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنَّ الْقُلُوبِ. By remembering Allah, hearts will be satisfied, they'll be tranquil, they'll be at rest. That is the real fruit of iman. That is the real fruit of, and when you have that, you have no loss. No loss is a loss. So just one example of that, inshallah, a real life example, and then we'll move forward, inshallah ta'ala. The example I want to give you is of a friend of mine who lives in New Orleans. And this friend of mine, he used to own a car dealership, luxury cars, Muslim family, and they own all these cars, but they paid for them in cash because they didn't want to deal in riba and stuff. So all these German cars, high-end Japanese cars, right? And they're sitting right there on the lot, surrounded by palm trees, water, it's beautiful property, right? And they're like selling hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of merchandise every single month. Business is good. And then you have Katrina, right? And the levees break, and they're right on the water. The only car left was I think it was the LS400, the Lexus, the top of the class Lexus, that they escaped in. When I went to meet the brother, he and his father, he was delivering pizza in that Lexus. That's what his job was. Now you can imagine, they went from what to what, right? What kind of lifestyle, what kind of financial dealings, to what kind of lifestyle, where they have to now deliver pizza and work at a pizza restaurant full time. But a big smile on their face. And I'm looking at them like, man, people, if they suffer this kind of loss, either they pop a whole, bottle of Advil or Tylenol and get it over with. They jump off a cliff. They'll drown themselves. They can't take it anymore, They don't want to deal with it. But why? What's smile on your face? He says, when we were busy and when business was good, we didn't have time to go to the masjid. I didn't get to see the wife much. Didn't get to play with the kids. Now, subhanAllah, we catch every salah in the masjid. There's still a roof over our head, food on our plate. What do we have to be ungrateful for? We should be grateful. Subhanallah. This doesn't happen unless you have iman. That kind of loss is not a loss. But if you don't have iman, then that's a loss. Then you will collapse. You will no longer be, you won't even want to live. People are willing to commit suicide because they wanted to, get with this girl and she married somebody else and they jump off a bridge. And this real life story. Actually, I know of a Muslim kid that this happened to in the 90s in New York. Wanted to marry this girl, she married somebody else. He jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, and he killed himself, committed suicide. It's a sad thing. But when does that happen? When you long for something other than Allah. And longing for Allah will give you tranquility, and that will not happen until you have iman. This is the escape from loss. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. This is the first thing. Then Allah Azza wa Jal mentions وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. First, in the way I organized my notes, I'm going to go through the difficult vocabulary and some of the commentary, then we'll come back to the ayah as a whole and look at the lessons piecemeal. But let's just deal with the vocabulary first. وَعَمِلُوا. عَمِلُوا. The word amal in Arabic is similar to another word called fi'l. There's amal and there is fi'l. Amal is a conscious action. Amal is a conscious action. While fi'l is it can also be a subconscious action. For example, fi'l is I'm breathing right now. That's not a amal, that is what? It's a fi'l. I'm walking. That can be a fi'l because I'm not necessarily thinking about every step, looking at my foot, hey, move forward. You don't do that. It's subconscious almost, right? When you open your eyes and you can see, that's not a amal, that is what? A fi'l. But when you speak to someone, when you go to work, when you drive your car, right? When you go and buy groceries, these are all a'mal because there is a conscious intent involved. You actually thought about it and then did it. So here Allah Azza wa Jal is making us, one thing we're realizing is we are answerable for every single act that we did consciously. Because there are behaviors, by the way, in our deen there's so much mercy. There are people who don't have control over their conscious behavior. They lose their sanity, they have all kinds of psychological disorders. And they are not, in our deen, they're غير مكلف. They're not held responsible for their behavior. But amal in and of itself includes conscious action. And then the word after it, amilu as-salihat. The word as-salihat is actually an adjective. It comes from the word salaha, which means to reconcile and to rectify. To reconcile and rectify. This is a very powerful word. It has two things in it that I want to highlight, inshallah. My fear genuinely is we're not going to finish Surat Asar today. Inshallah. One last session after. Inshallah, one last session. But anyway, the word as-salihat is an adjective in and of itself. The word that is understood, when Allah says they do goods, literally, if you want to rough translate it, goods. But good in and of itself in English, that doesn't even sound right. Good is an adjective, but an adjective requires a noun. Good deeds. Even, a lot of translations they say, and they do good deeds. Well, the good is here in the word salih. Where's the word deeds? It's not there in the Arabic. That word would have been وَعَمِلُوا الْأَعْمَالَ الصَّالِحَاتِ. If the word al-a'mal was there, which is understood, it's mahdhuf, it's implied. Now the thing that I want to highlight here are a couple of things. The first thing is the word al-a'mal in Arabic is considered jam' mukassar. It's a broken plural. And broken plurals are supposed to have feminine adjectives. I know it's a little bit technical, but you'll see the benefit of it in a second, inshallah. So typically you would say al-a'mala as-salihata. You would put a ta marbuta on as-saliha, and that would be done. Righteous deeds. But Allah Azza wa Jal says al-a'mala, and understood, but He says as-salihat.